Well, as you can see by the mess on the bench, I've been busy working on a controller for the Hoya lift to make it a little more easier to use. I ordered a special rocker switch from I think Amazon, but it's not here yet. It won't arrive until after New Year's, and I didn't want to sit around on a 3-day weekend doing nothing. So what I've been doing is wiring up the control box. I don't know if you can see it. I've scratched into here the dimensions of the switch that will be arriving. The switch that's coming and this switch are exactly the same height inside, so should be able to use it without a problem. I just have to cut this out with a nibbler. So this is the guts of it right now. Explain how it works. We're going to have positive come in from one of the wires on this black, and it's going to go to the circuit breaker. It's a 10 amp circuit breaker. Comes out of the 10 amp circuit breaker into the center of this switch, and then the negative, of course, goes to the other side of the switch. The switch is wired for reversing, so right now in the center it's off. Ideally, when it's hooked up correctly, pushing the switch up will make the lifting arm go up, and down will make it go down. Also, at some point I'll probably put in a light in here. This is, like I said, it's only temporary, but I wanted to make sure it worked. The Hoya lift, the linear actuator on it has they put a stereo, or not a stereo, but a ring and tip connector, headphone connector on it. So I've installed a headphone connector just so I don't have to rewire, cut the wires and, you know, feed them in here. So once I get the other one, basically it just goes in here. I'm gonna put in screws, and of course there'll be a rocker switch. So the only thing now I'm going to do is I'm going to go hook this up temporarily to the lift, and we'll see if it works. Okay, so we're outside with the Hoya lift, and I have the control box hooked up. It's currently hooked up to two 12-volt batteries in series with a temporary connector. The Hoya lift connector is, the motor connector is plugged in, and let's see if you can see that. Yeah. So we push the button for up, and the lift goes up, and then we push it for down, and the lift goes down. That's it for this part. I'm gonna go back into the shop again. And we're back in the mess. One of the things I forgot to mention is the way I can tell that one side of this wire is positive and one is negative, although technically it doesn't matter, is that the printing, there's printing or embossing on only one of these conductors, or the insulation. And that one I made positive. Basically I guessed everything right, and the up is up and down is down. So one other thing, I'm going to be building a battery box, probably, this is a Saturday before New Year's, and one thing you have to, I want is that if I'm using the battery and the voltage goes too low, I want to know about it. I don't want to run it down too low, or you can really ruin a battery. Now, I've got these low voltage alarms, which are in another video, and they are meant for 9 and 12 volt batteries. They'll work with a voltage up to 24, but there's a couple of resistors in here that get really hot. Too hot, not hot enough to burn you, but hotter than I would like for something that's just going to sit there monitoring a battery. What I'm going to do is, once I get the battery box built and get the batteries all wired up and everything, well, what I already did was I connected this up, figured out how much voltage or amperage it draws, which is like 22.5 milliamps when it's not, when the alarm isn't going off, and the voltage that I wanted it to read. So let's say I want it to read 22 point, let's see, we want battery, a 12 volt battery is considered pretty much at, in need of recharging at about 11.3 volts. Anything below that can damage it. So you have two batteries, that's 22.6 volts. So what I did was I calculated what size of dropping resistor would be needed so that when the voltage got to be 22.6, it would be approximately 12 or 11.3 or something like that. Whatever it is, it actually kind of doesn't matter, because all I had to do was just, on my power supply, adjust the voltage down to 22.6 and then set this so that the alarm would go off. So if I put it up at, if I pump the voltage up to 22.7, the alarm shuts off. And then you back it down again and the alarm comes on again. So with this 500 ohms resistor, the reason it's a 5 watt resistor is I tried it with a 1 watt resistor, and it was getting slightly warm, and I really don't want it getting warm at all. So this thing shouldn't hardly even get warm in any way, and this will go on the batteries to monitor them. And I think that's about it. The next time, possibly tomorrow, I will be building the battery box. Okay, I just spent the last 2 hours 37 minutes working on this morning. I've had this old electrical box. Yeah, it was came off of something, I don't know what it was. Someone gave it to me. And I decided to mount the batteries in it. The batteries are mounted in place with some aluminum, right angle iron, angle aluminum, whatever you want to call it. And piece of wood, and then there's another piece of wood in the door, obviously with some foam to hold it snugly in place, and then it's going to have some screws that actually hold it shut. The circuit is pretty basic. We have our plus and minus here. They've gone through an electrical, I don't even know what they're called, to the battery. The batteries are wired in series. The little alarm is wired with a switch to silence it, also to turn the alarm off when it's not in use, so we don't run the battery down. So just to demonstrate, we touch this here and this. That's too low of a voltage and the alarm goes off. The next thing I'm going to be doing is I'm going to have to hook it up to the lift and get everything connected and see how it works. Okay, well, I just spent another couple of hours building a bracket and mounting the box onto the lift. The only thing left now is to wait for the switch to arrive, which should be the day after New Year's. Okay, well, it's been about a week. The switch I ordered finally came in. It's a dual pole, dual throw, normally off rocker switch. It was supposed to arrive Saturday before New Year's. Then it was rescheduled for Tuesday, and then scheduled for Wednesday, then Thursday, and then I called UPS and they suddenly magically found it, and it arrived Friday, which is yesterday. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take out this temporary switch. I'm going to use these nibblers, and I'm going to cut out an opening, and then I'm going to reconnect everything. And I will come back when that is finished. Okay. Got it in, got it wired. Even though I wired it just like the other one, somehow it was backwards. But that's alright, you just swap the leads to the motor and it'll work exactly the way you want it. The only thing left to do is button it up, and we'll test lifting something. One thing I did notice was when I put this in is that this broke. I'm just going to leave it. I've got two of them, but I'm not that worried about it. Anyways. Alright. An old battery is about the heaviest thing I could find that I could set up real quick. I don't know if you hear a crap ton of birds. Some starlings have gathered in a tree nearby and making a huge amount of noise. So this is the controller, completed. Just real simple. And I have the alarm on, and the battery weighs, I don't know, close to 45-50 pounds. So let's pick it up. I'm sure it's going to slip one side or the other, but I don't really care. Yeah, look at that. Now this linear actuator, apparently, when it gets to the far end of its travel, it does have a stop in it, a switch or something, because it doesn't sit there and just try to run. But yeah, it works. Great, now I've got something to pick up things and put on a bench. Don't have to ask people to help me anymore. On to the next project.